Hello everyone. In this video we're going to learn about our third type of primary data collection method, questionnaires. Questionnaires are a pre-formulated written set of questions to which the respondent records an answer, usually within rather closely delineated alternatives. What does closely delineated alternatives mean? It basically just means they're usually multiple choice or short answer fields that you would select from. Why do we use questionnaires instead of interviews or observation? Interviews are good for detailed information on a person's feelings or opinions. Observation is good for watching to learn about how people act in their natural environment. Questionnaires are best when you need a lot of quantitative data. They take less time and money than interviews or observation would. However, there's a problem with people not responding at all because they can receive a questionnaire and choose not to fill it in. We're going to look at 3 different methods that you can use to administer questionnaires. They are personally administered, mail, and electronic or online questionnaires. Each method has some advantages and disadvantages. So for personally administered, it just is what it sounds like. Somebody's actually there to help you fill in the questionnaire. Have you ever had someone come to your door to ask you a series of questions for a survey? I have. It can be an awkward experience, and I wasn't even sure if they were a legitimate company when they just showed up at my door and started trying to ask me questionnaire questions. A personally administered questionnaire is when the researcher is present when the respondent completes it, and usually they are used when they're administered locally, so in a very small area, and they could be a good way to collect information in that case because the researcher can get the responses they need in a short period of time. So imagine that a researcher goes to a mall and asks a group of 20 people at the mall to complete a questionnaire. If the questionnaire takes 10 minutes to complete, they could be there in person and have 20 responses in only the 10 minutes from those people. Also, if the respondent has a question, they can be clarified on the spot. So if they don't really understand what the question is saying, they can ask the researcher because they're in the same location. If the researcher is persuasive and explains that the research they're doing is important, it can also help people to complete the questionnaire more honestly than if they did it in an unsupervised setting. Also, questionnaires are much easier to administer than interviews or observations because the questions have been created and the person just needs to fill it out. It doesn't require any in-depth training to administer it. But the benefit of respondents being able to ask questions when you do it in person could also turn into bias if the researcher's answer leads them or persuades them to select any option, or if they give different people different answers. So they are faster than interviews and observation, but they still do take some time and effort, especially to design questions that are easy for people to understand. A mail questionnaire is received by the respondents in their mailbox, and then the person completes it using paper pencil. This method of questionnaire was very popular in the past, but now is nearly obsolete because of the use of the internet. The good thing about using the mail, or with the internet too, is that anonymity is high, so the person doesn't feel like they're having an issue with confidentiality as much when they're completing it kind of in their own house and then have to mail it back. They can take more time to respond at their convenience. The disadvantages, if the person doesn't understand the question, nobody's there to help them. The response rate is usually very low because most people just throw it out if they get it in the mail. And then if you don't get enough answers, you often have to follow up. What has replaced mail questionnaires is online questionnaires because they are very fast and easy. With a simple email link, you can get people's views. You can even share the links over social media. Some popular tools for online questionnaires are SurveyMonkey, Qualtrics, Google Forms, and Microsoft Forms. You've probably noticed that maybe your professors or coordinators use tools like Microsoft Forms to ask you questions and get your opinions. I even use Microsoft Forms at the beginning of this course to learn more about what you expect from the learning experience. The biggest advantage of completing a questionnaire online is that they provide access to people that it'd be difficult to reach otherwise, and you don't have to be in the same location of those people. You can cover a wide geographic area this way. It saves a lot of time and money because you don't have to spend money on printing off responses or trying to mail them out on stamps. Everything can be done online and it's easy to implement for that reason. The disadvantages are that non-response is extremely high. So again, people might get the email link, but then they choose not to complete it. There's also such a thing as self-selection bias. That means the people that do respond usually feel really strongly on the issue, like they really love it or they really hate it. Some people even view requests to participate in survey to their email as spam or like an invasion of their privacy, so they just might delete the email altogether. Again, just like a mail questionnaire, they have a problem where you can't clarify questions or convince people to fill in the whole thing. So non-response or partial responses are an issue. And also there are still some people who don't have access to computers, and none of those people would be included if you're using an electronic version of a questionnaire. So these are 3 different methods that people use to administer questionnaires. Each have their own advantages and disadvantages. The one that we'll be using the majority of the time in this course is the electronic questionnaire.